Well, hey guys, I am Lynn Hanson. I'm one of the pastors here at North Park Church, and I'm really glad to be sharing with you this week in our life groups. We're in the middle of this series called Fish Story, and we're talking about the book of Jonah, but the subtitle here is Getting Fish When You Ordered Chicken. Have you ever asked God for something, or maybe even really begged Him for something, or maybe just made some plans, and nothing really worked out exactly the way that you wanted it to? Well, that's what this series is all about. What is God up to when that happens? One thing you can be absolutely sure of in a relationship with Him is that if you didn't get what you asked for, or your plans didn't go the way you wanted, it is absolutely because He is helping you to go the right direction. Now, no story more clearly illustrates that than the story of Jonah in the Bible. And, it's an amazing thing. Jonah chapter 1, verse 1, let me just read a few verses to you to start with. It says, "The word of the Lord came to Jonah, go to the great city of Nineveh and preach against it, because its wickedness has come up before me. But Jonah got up and went the opposite direction to get away from the Lord. He went down to the port of Joppa, where he found a ship leaving for Tarshish. He bought a ticket and went on board, hoping to escape from the Lord by sailing to Tarshish." Verse 4, though, "But the Lord hurled a powerful wind over the sea, causing a violent storm that threatened to break the ship apart. Jonah wanted a vacation, and he got a storm." Now, it's not what Jonah was looking for. Let me remind you that storms are a constant metaphor in the Bible for, the troubles that we have, life's greatest trials. But especially storms represent those times when we're absolutely helpless against the fierce suffering, some fierce suffering in our lives. I mean, it's like being in the midst of a storm. What can you do about a tornado? What can you do about a hurricane? Nothing. And you're just helpless. And so this is the great metaphor of a storm in the Bible. And that's the constant pattern, though, of how it is that God moves you and I along in His plan and His purpose for us. If nothing else is working, I'm having trouble getting rid of this fly. If nothing else is working, then a storm is probably going to be the answer. Now, there's three components to storying. That's what we do in our life groups, is we story. And I'm going to tell you the story, or read it to you actually, and this one's going to come from Mark chapter 4, verse 35. And it's just a short one this week, but a great story, powerful story. And we'll have a few questions afterwards. But as I tell you this story, keep track and listen very closely. Follow along on your outline, because somebody in your group is going to want to retell this story from memory, and you're going to help them rebuild it by putting in there what it is that they've missed. Here we go. As evening came, Jesus said to the disciples, let's cross to the other side of the lake. So they took Jesus in the boat and started out, leaving the crowds behind, although other boats followed. But soon a fierce storm came up. High waves were breaking into the boat, and it began to fill with water. Jesus was sleeping in the back of the boat with his head on a cushion. The disciples woke him up, shouting, "Teacher, don't you care that we're going to drown?" When Jesus woke up, he rebuked the wind and said to the waves, "Silence, be still." Suddenly the wind stopped, and there was a great calm. Then he asked them, "Why are you afraid? Do you still have no faith?" Verse 41, the disciples were absolutely terrified. "Who is this man?" they asked each other. "Even the wind and the waves obey him." Mark 4, 35 through 41. Great story. Now, go ahead and retell that story, and then everyone else rebuild the story. Go ahead, please. All right, hope you had a great time doing that. That's so much fun. Discussion questions. Here we go. Question number 1. Was the storm, look back at this story carefully now, was the storm or the disciples being in the middle of it a mistake Was that some cosmic mistake? Is that what happened? Go ahead and talk about that, would you please? Okay, let me remind you that storms especially represent in the Bible those times when we're absolutely helpless against fierce suffering. Question, what is the present storm in your life? What is the present storm in your life? Talk about that. Would you please share that? All right, Jonah's storm, you remember, came because he was running from God. I mean, the Bible is super clear about that. He got up and went the opposite direction. God hurled a storm across the sea. Question 3, though, here now. Were the disciples running from God? Is that what was going on? Why or why not? Why do you say yes or no? Why do you say that they were running from God? Why do you say they weren't? Dig deep on this one, would you please? Were they running from God? Go ahead. Talk about that, please. All right, guys. Last question, question number 4. Looking back carefully at the story, what could the disciples learn from this storm? Now again, dig deep. What could the disciples learn from the storm that they had been in? Bigger part of the question. What could you learn from yours? Well, guys, that is your life group for this week, and I hope that your life group continues to grow you and help you move closer in a relationship with Christ and with others. And guys, I'll see you soon.